You have just accepted a software engineering role at a company whose name you would have recognized 3 years ago only as something that existed in a world you were not yet part of. The offer letter says 74,000 base, plus a stock package that is described across 4 pages of documentation you nodded at during the negotiation and have not yet fully parsed, plus a bonus structure, plus benefits that include things you did not know employers provided until the recruiter listed them. You call your parents. Your mother asks if you are sure the number is right. Your father says he is proud of you in the way fathers say they are proud when they mean something more than proud, but do not have a different word. The next day, at work, a colleague who joined 2 years before you mentions, without particular emphasis, that they are currently underpaid relative to market and are beginning to look around. Their current salary, which they mention in passing, is 95,000. You have been in the industry for less than 24 hours, and you are already behind. This is the specific financial environment of tech, and it will shape every money decision you make for the next decade in ways that are worth understanding before they happen rather than after. Technology careers offer something that almost no other professional path provides with the same consistency and at the same speed. The income to solve almost every ordinary financial problem while the problems are still small. At 25, a software engineer in a major European tech hub earns what a doctor earns at 35, after a decade of training and student debt and the specific sacrifice of a medical education. At 30, a senior engineer at a well-funded company earns what a lawyer earns at 40 after years of billable hours and partnership track and the slow accumulation of the credentials that justify the rate. This is not a boast. It is a structural fact about the labor market for technical skills at this moment in history, and it creates, for the people inside it, an opportunity that is available for a window that is shorter than it feels, and that most people inside it do not fully use. Because the same environment that produces extraordinary income also produces, with remarkable consistency, people who earn significantly and build almost nothing. The reasons for this are specific and worth naming. Let us walk through every level. Level 1, junior engineer, 45,000 to 75,000. Salary feels extraordinary, not because you are ungrateful or unaware of how fortunate the number is. You are both grateful and aware. It feels extraordinary because 6 months ago you were a student, and the distance between student finances and this number is large enough to produce a specific kind of relief that expresses itself as permission. Permission to live somewhere you actually like, rather than the place you could afford to tolerate. Permission to eat well, dress well, equip yourself with the tools your work and your life require. Permission to stop doing the mental arithmetic that governed every decision for the 4 years before this one. The upgrades happen quickly because the relief is real and the justifications are available. A better apartment in a better area. A laptop that is not the cheapest one that meets minimum requirements. A gym membership. Clothes for the professional context you are now operating in. The general infrastructure of a life being lived at this income level rather than the previous one. You tell yourself you will start investing when the salary is higher, when the setup costs of the new life have stabilized, when you understand the equity package better, when things are more settled. You have heard this before in an earlier script. You are hearing it again, because it is happening again at a higher income level with more convincing reasons in an environment specifically designed to make the delay feel reasonable. Level 2, mid-level engineer, 75,000 to 120,000. The second salary jump arrives faster than people outside the industry expect. You have been in the role for 18 months. You have shipped things that matter. You have demonstrated a capability that the market prices differently than it priced you at entry level. A competing offer arrives or a promotion conversation happens and the number moves. You are now earning more than both your parents at their respective career peaks. This fact arrives with a specific emotional weight that is difficult to describe accurately and almost never discussed in the financial content that targets people at this income level. It is not guilt exactly, not pride exactly. Something in between. A recognition of distance traveled that is also a recognition of distance created. And the specific loneliness of being in a financial position that the people who love you most cannot fully relate to. The social environment at this income level is populated by people who also earn approximately this amount. The lifestyle that forms in that environment, the restaurants, the travel, the apartments, the general cost of participation operates at a level that felt aspirational 18 months ago and now feels like the baseline. The baseline is expensive. It does not feel expensive because everyone around you is maintaining it at the same cost. You are not saving much. You know this. The knowing sits at a level slightly below your daily attention. Present, uncomfortable, deferred. Level 3, senior engineer, 120,000 to 100 total compensation. Total compensation, base salary, annual bonus, the quarterly RSU vesting that you now track in a spreadsheet because the amounts are large enough to require tracking exceeds 120,000. You are by any objective measure in the top income percentile of your country, and you have saved, net of lifestyle and tax, approximately 4,000 or 5,000 over 3 years of earning at this level. This number is not a moral failure. It is not evidence of recklessness or irresponsibility. It is the entirely predictable outcome of a high income deployed in an environment where the cost of participation scales with the income, where the peer group sets an implicit lifestyle standard, feels like a floor rather than a ceiling, and where the future liquidity of equity compensation creates a permanent psychological permission to defer saving to the moment the equity becomes accessible. The equity has not become accessible yet. It will. When it does, the plan is to sort everything out properly. When it does, there will be a new grant, a new vesting schedule, and a new version of the same permission. This is the pattern. It is visible from the outside. It is almost invisible from inside it. Level 4, staff engineer, 180,000 to 300,000 total compensation. The equity is now meaningful in a way it was not at earlier levels. RSUs vesting quarterly at a share price that has moved significantly since the grant date. A tax bill that arrives with the vesting and that requires planning, not the reactive payment of a bill, but the advanced structuring of when and how compensation is received, and in what form it is most efficiently held. You are for the first time having conversations with a financial advisor that feel like actual financial planning rather than the generic advice that applied to everyone. The advice is specific to your situation, your income structure, your equity exposure, your pension position, your tax residency, and its implications for how certain assets are most efficiently held. The engineers who build real wealth at this level are the ones who had this conversation at level 2 rather than level 4. The ones who understood early that high compensation and effective wealth building are not the same thing, that the tax efficiency of how you receive and hold your income matters almost as much as the income itself, and that the gap between gross compensation and net wealth is wider at this income level than at almost any other. The equity is not wealth until it is liquid, tax efficiently structured, and invested in something that is not the same company your salary comes from. Every step of that conversion requires decisions that are easier to make well in advance of the event than in the emotional context of the event itself. Level 5, principal or distinguished, 300,000 plus total compensation. Conversations change at this level, not just the financial ones, all of them. Career decisions available to you are structurally different from the ones that were available at level 1. You can take significant compensation cuts to work on problems you find more interesting. You can take equity in early-stage companies in exchange for advisory involvement that costs you time rather than capital. You can choose your working environment, your team, your technical domain in ways that were not available when the market was pricing entry-level work. The financial question at this level is not how to earn more. It is how to preserve optionality, how to structure the compensation, savings, and the investment portfolio in a way that means the career choices that follow are driven by what you want to build rather than what you need to earn. The engineers who reach this level and retain that optionality are almost universally the ones who kept a meaningful gap between income and spending through the levels that preceded it, who did not build a lifestyle at level 3 that required level 5 income to sustain, who understood, earlier than most of their peers, that the value of financial independence in a career that produces as much income as this one is not the retirement it enables. It is the freedom to do the best work rather than the most remunerative work. Level 6, the liquidity event the company goes public, or gets acquired, or completes a secondary that allows early employees to sell a portion of their vested equity. The number in your brokerage account changes by an amount that requires several readings to absorb. It is not the number you imagined when you first joined. The Number was always either too conservative or too optimistic, rarely accurate, because the future of any specific company is genuinely unknowable in advance, and the human mind is not well calibrated for the specific probability distributions involved. The first feeling is not joy, not in the clean, uncomplicated form the number seems to deserve. It is something more complex, a mixture of relief and disorientation, of having arrived somewhere that does not look quite like the destination it appeared to be from the distance. What happens in the 12 months following a liquidity event determines more of the long-term financial outcome than the event itself. The people who handle it well made their decisions before it happened, about what they would do when it did, about what the money was for, about which of the choices it opened they actually wanted to make. The people who made those decisions in the emotional context of the event itself, without prior planning, with the full weight of the number and the full pressure of its newness, made decisions that were worse in proportion to how unprepared they were. The liquidity event is not the end of the financial story. It is the moment when the financial story becomes the most consequential it has ever been. And consequential moments favor the prepared. The trap. Trap in tech money is not lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is present. It is not overspending, though overspending occurs. It is something more structural and more difficult to address because it is not a behavior. It is a belief. Belief is this: future liquidity justifies present deferral. The equity will vest, and I will sort everything out then. The company will exit, and that will change the picture completely. The next role will pay more, and I will start being serious about this when I am earning more. The RSUs are about to vest, and it does not make sense to build a financial plan until I know what that number looks like. Each of these statements is partially true. The equity will probably vest. The next role probably will pay more. The RSUs will produce a number that is relevant to a financial plan. These are not delusions. They are reasonable expectations in a career that has historically delivered on them with some consistency. The problem is not the expectation. It is that the expectation becomes the permission, the standing justification for not building financial discipline now, in the current moment, at the current income level, with the current compensation. And financial discipline, unlike compensation, does not arrive with a vesting schedule. It is either built through practice over time, or it is not present at the moment it is most needed. The engineers who receive significant liquidity events and build lasting wealth from them are, without exception in the pattern that repeats across this industry, the ones who were already boring with money before the event, who were already investing consistently, who already understood their tax position, who had already answered the question of what the money was for before it arrived, in a form that made the question urgent. The liquidity event does not create financial discipline. It amplifies whatever financial habits existed before it. The engineer who was deferring every financial decision to the post-exit moment arrives at the post-exit moment with a large number and no framework for what to do with it. The engineer who was quietly building habits and systems and a financial foundation at every previous level arrives with a large number and an infrastructure ready to receive it. The compensation in this industry is genuinely extraordinary. The window during which it is available, the years when the market pays this premium for technical skills, the years of peak earning before the career transitions into management or advisory or something else entirely, is shorter than it feels while you are inside it. What is built during that window is what remains after it closes. The salary is not the wealth. The salary is the material. What you build from it, quietly, consistently, in the unremarkable months between the dramatic milestones, is the wealth. The philosophical close you are 25, with an offer letter that says 74,000, and a stock package you have not yet fully parsed, and a colleague who mentioned in passing that they are underpaid at 95,000. You are going to be in this industry for a while. The numbers are going to get larger. Complexity of the compensation is going to increase. Liquidity events, the ones that materialize out of the ones you will work toward, will arrive at moments you cannot predict and in forms that are never quite what the projections implied. All of that is in front of you. None of it is the most important financial decision you are going to make in the next 5 years. Most important financial decision is the one that most people in your position defer to later, when the salary is bigger, when the equity is clearer, when the financial picture is settled enough to take seriously. The decision to start building financial habits now at 74,000, before the picture is clear, before the equity vests, before the conditions feel right, rather than at the income level where the habits finally feel justified. The habits built at 74,000 are the habits that receive the 95,000. Habits built at 95,000 are the ones managing the liquidity event. The financial discipline that compounds is not the money. It is the practice of treating every level of income as material for building rather than permission for spending. Your parents think the number is extraordinary. They are right. Your colleague thinks they are underpaid. They may also be right. Both of those things are true, and neither of them is the point. The point is what you build from the number you have right now before you know what the next number is going to be. The salary is the starting material. What you build from it, quietly, at every level, long before the dramatic milestones arrive, is the only part of the story that belongs entirely to you. Curious about how much wealth different professions can build? Subscribe now and join us as we explore the income, lifestyle, and net worth behind the world's most fascinating careers.